everybody, it's Angel from Halo Inspirations. We give you inspirations to help you spread beauty and joy through your quilting journey. Happy hump day to you. Happy Wednesday to you. Hey, what are we doing today? It's Christmas Wednesday, one of my favorite days. And this one, I know I say this a lot, guys, but I'm stoked. I am really stoked. I'm really excited about this. I know I say that all the time, and I just get excited about quilting. I mean, let's just be honest. And I know you must also be excited about quilting. So Christmas Wednesday, listen, I got a lot of notes because we're going to talk about some things, but what are we doing today? We are going to be making stockings. Yes, stockings. Now I'm looking at my notes. I will say, I have to do these notes because there's a lot here at the beginning. But I will say there are a million, bajillion, zillion, I know I'm exaggerating, but there are a lot of videos here on YouTube on stockings. I'm hoping that you'll find this a little different. I always try to put a little swing on things. I did experiment with a whole nother method. Yeah, it didn't work. This one works. So I'm excited to share this with you. I'm hoping that you'll find a little inspiration, but we'll talk about that in just a second because I got a little bit of housekeeping. Listen, tomorrow, it's Thanksgiving. Whoop, whoop. It is time for Thanksgiving. Oh my gosh, Thanksgiving it's a really big deal, right? A lot of things go on. Yes, it's time that we get to give thanks. And I will tell you, as far as I'm concerned, and I would imagine everybody, I haven't had that. We're going to talk about it in a couple weeks with my Halo team, but I am grateful for you. This time that we have spent during the year and a half or so that we really got started, or the last couple years that we really got started doing these videos, this time has been an amazing journey that I have had such an awesome privilege to walk with you during your quilting journey. So I'm very grateful for that. But I don't mean to get sappy, and that wasn't even in my notes. But I just wanted to share that because it's heartfelt, and I appreciate every single one of you being here. And it's just been an absolute incredible journey. Okay. But in lieu of Thanksgiving, I mean, there's a lot of things that go on for Thanksgiving, right? One of them are all these sales. So we have held off on doing a Black Friday thing. Now for the month, we have been doing pre-cuts at 10%. It will take a little bit of a back seat during the 3 days that we are going to be doing some sales at our shop. So I want to explain it to you. So the first one is on Black Friday, and it'll be one random category will be selected. And I believe my tech guy is going to pick the category. And so it's completely random. We're not sure what that is at this point, so I'm going to leave it as a mystery, but it will be 15% off. And if you have a discount code already in your pocket, it'll work. So if you've been hoarding one because it didn't have an expiration date, and so it can't be used, you can't have had one and used it. Usually those things are one time and gone. If you have one and it isn't expired, the discount code will work with this sale. Okay, so it's 15% off one random category. In our shop, we do have a menu of all the categories. So one random category will be 15% off. That's Friday. That's Black Friday. Whoop, whoop. Small Business Saturday. We are a small business and we want to participate in the Small Business Saturday. And so that one is 25% off all the fabric. Straight across the board. Whether they're pre-cuts or yardage, all the fabric will be 25% off. However, there's a little trick here. Your code will not work for that. Okay. And again, that 10% off for November is going to take a small a small little break, okay? Because 10% isn't as much as 25, so it's 25% off all the fabric in the store. Your discount code that you may have available for use will not work, okay? Then Sunday we're taking a breather. We'll be packing up shipments, I'm sure. Actually, I'm going to be long arming. Let's just be real. I'm going to be long arming on Sunday. So on Monday, we have Cyber Monday, right? And on Monday, it's 20% off store-wide, okay? Everything in the store is 20% off. But again, your discount code will not work, okay? So you will see the Saturday and on Monday, you won't see it on the shop page until you're in checkout, and it will automatically apply. Just a heads up on that. On Friday's sale, you will see all the items, all of whatever random category it is, all the items in that category will have a sale price. So you'll be able to see what the price is. Now, I want to also remind you, our store is a little different at this time until we get our new website up. All the sales tax is already included in that price. So if you see something that is $10, sales tax is already included. You're not going to go to checkout. The only thing to be added to checkout is the $5 for shipping. Okay. And that goes away automatically when you purchase $100 or more. So if you purchase more than $100, sales tax, or if you purchase $101, right? Sales tax is already included and you will have free shipping. So the price that you see is the price it will be. Oh, that rhymed. So I wanted to give you, this is an exciting time for that. And I'll be real honest with you. You know what else happens on Black Friday? For those of you who follow Bonnie Hunter, if I remember correctly, the mystery quilt colors come out. Or maybe it starts. One of the two. The mystery quilt. Black Friday is a big day for Bonnie Hunter's mystery quilt. So if you're a Bonnie Hunter follower, I am sure you're super stoked about Black Friday. Not only for all the sales across the, retail world, but I'm sure you're also excited about Bonnie Hunter's mystery quilt. Those are always fun to watch. Okay. And I will add that the best way to show your support is in fact to make a purchase in our store. That is the ultimate way to show support. The more we grow, the more fabric we'll have. Oh, we got more fabric coming, to be real with you. Can't wait for that. Hopefully it shows up on Friday, so it's available on Saturday because it is fabric. I can't make any promises because I don't know when they're going to ship it, but always a good deal. So if you show your support, the store grows and we are able to offer you more. If there's anything that you're ever interested in, all you got to do is email me and I'll make sure to check it out. All right, next, I also wanted to talk about, I usually drop a video once a week on Wednesdays. Next Wednesday is I think it's the 1st of December. Really? It's already the 1st? Anyway, there'll be no video drop and I won't be anywhere live unless I just get a wild, crazy hair. Because I'm going to put my family first. I'm not going to be able to see my mom and dad for Thanksgiving. So I'm going to take a little trip up to Pennsylvania and go see my mom and dad. So I'm going to take that Wednesday off to give my family some love and get some love, right? Family first. That's what we always encourage. So there'll be no video. I will be back on the 8th. And if you think about that, if you're new here, Christmas Wednesdays happen once in September, once in October, once in November, and 2 in December. And the 2 in December are my absolute favorite for the entire Christmas Wednesday series. I do have a playlist out there from last year, so you can look up the playlist of Christmas Wednesdays. I think it's called Christmas Inspirations. I might put a link in the top corner. I don't remember. I think it's over here. But I'll definitely put it in the description box for you. But those are my two favorite of the whole year. So we have 2 left in December. So I'm already missing the 1st. So I will tell you on the 8th, we will have our next Christmas Wednesday. And I have a very special guest. She is absolutely wonderful. I can't wait to share more with her. We've worked together before, hint, hint. But we're really good quilty friends. And I look forward to sharing that Christmas Wednesday with you. So look forward to the 8th. We'll be back with the next Christmas Wednesday. And speaking of Christmas Wednesday, so today we're doing, I just realized I have, a piece of plastic. This was a stocking that we're doing today. And I'm about to dive in here real quick because I know I've already kept you too long. I just want to get some things out of the way. Now, one of the things that we're so adamant about, we want to spread inspiration to you, give you inspiration through your quilting journey. I say it every time in this video at the beginning. And sometimes we find, personally, I find inspiration from some other quilter, right? So I will tell you, this one, I'm going to say that I wanted to share with you a quilter who has done a really, really cool thing. She ended up putting it on a stocking, so I'm going to talk about that. But she also did these designs that look like they're embroidered. Well, they are embroidered per se, but without an embroidery machine. What? Yeah, absolutely. Hello. Lisa Capon Quilts. I'm going to put her name down here, and I'll put the link to her channel in the description box. She has given a video series or a video on how to do this. And with this picture, you can see those are all done with a domestic sewing machine. Seriously, you don't need an embroiderer. You don't even need the embroidery function, okay? It is so, I want to have time to be able to do one myself. I just haven't had the time. But I wanted to share it with you because it is so neat. You can make those things into ornaments. You can use them as applique, whether they're on stockings or your quilts or anywhere. It doesn't even matter. You can put them on anything. And they're so pretty. And it was just a brilliant idea. Thank you, Miss Lisa, for sharing that with the world. And I want to tell you on her channel, Lisa is a fantabulous quilter and crafter. And just a little hint, she's going to be starting a mystery quilt where she combines some craft with some quilting. Kind of really cool. This is going to be so much fun, I think. I personally want to do this, so I'm gonna get the pattern from her, and when I'm gonna watch the videos, and when I have time, I'm actually gonna try and make this. But she's doing a mystery quilt, and it starts next week on December 1st, and it runs 5 or 6 weeks. I can't remember exactly, but she does combine the two elements of her life of crafting and quilting, and I just think it would be so much fun. So go ahead and check her out. She goes live usually on Fridays, and I say that, I mean, she goes live on Fridays at this time, and it's usually every Friday, and she works through these things with you live. Yeah, I aspire to do that with you also in due time, right? But at any rate, Lisa Capon Quilts, check her out. Look at that embroidery. And I will tell you what she did with that is she actually has put them on some of her stockings. So the following week, so after you watch that video, the following week, she showed you her method on making a stocking using 2 fat quarters. Pretty cool, right? So worth checking out. Like I said, there's a zillion stocking videos on YouTube. So if you ever want to look for doing a stocking, they're out there. And I'm hoping that this will be a little different. And I actually haven't found anybody who's doing it the same. So, not that they're not out there, it's just I haven't seen them. And I do a lot of research. So, we will see. So, we have two different stockings here. Okay. Super cute. Love them. But I want to tell you, I'm not teaching, this is a little different because I'm not teaching you a pattern. I'm teaching you a method. Believe it or not, this stocking is what turned into this stocking. Okay. It looks different, absolutely, because this is my own. And this stocking turned in to these two stockings. I actually have two of them. And they're both different. Okay? This is a method. It's not a pattern. And it will allow you to make your own stocking with stuff you have. So I'm not sure where these stockings came from. I think this came from a Dollar Tree several years ago. And I've got glitter everywhere because I don't know if you can tell, but this is all glitter. And I think this one came from the PX. The Post Exchange, which is military for department store. Years ago when I lived in Europe. Okay, so I've had these things in my house. I've never used them. They've just been there, and this is what I used to make these. And I want to show you how. Now, I also want to talk about the fabric real quick, especially since we got, fabric sale coming. And we have one currently with 10% off. Of course, now you'll want to wait. This fabric in here is Robert Kaufman's Holiday Color Story. I used roll-ups, okay? Or in Moda terms, jelly roll. So I used part of this. Now, if you remember, nope, that's not true. So I used a roll-up. Now, it doesn't take very many. So you're going to have a lot left over. Or you can make more of them. I can't tell you exactly how many you'll need because it will depend on your stocking. Everything is based on what you do, okay? There's no pattern. It's a method. I think you're really going to like it. Okay. For inside here, and to be honest with you, the cuff on this one, I did use Benartek's Charm Holiday. I used the Fat Quarter bundle. Okay. We do have that on our shop. I do have the Holiday Flourish Holiday Color Story Robert Kaufman roll-ups too, so you can check that out. But if you remember, with the Fat Quarter bundle is what I made the braided for one of the Christmas Wednesdays. I actually did finish it. Okay, the table runner, the braided table runner. This is what I used. It is all quilted. I used a snowflake motif. And it's bound. It is a done deal, guys. And I don't think I ever showed it to you. But that's what the top of this is. And also the cuff to this one. I'm trying to say, listen, you can use your scraps. How much batting did I use? Listen, I will tell you, I went into my batting stash. And a 17 by 20 fit my stocking. But if you make it a little smaller or you make it a little bigger, it's going to change the dimension. But mine, both of these were about 17 by 20 is what I was able to utilize for that. And as far as this cuff goes and all the backings, I did all the backings the same. I used Buttermilk Basin. Showed a little closer. Buttermilk Basin's Christmas Acres. Oh, I should have looked that up for the exact name. Buttermilk Christmas Acres line. I have this color, which is an off-white with snowflakes. I don't know if you can actually see that. But I have black, and obviously that's what the backing is and the binding is for my table runner. So that's what I used. How much did I use? I cut a yard and I've done 3 stockings, all 3 with backing, 2 with cuffs, and I have a lot left. I have more than a fat quarter left. So, like I said, it's all going to depend on what it is that you make per se. Okay. So how did I go from this to that? And how did I go from this to that? How did I do that? Well, let's go ahead and get this started, guys. I'm going to bring you in and show you just exactly what I did. I'll see you guys in just a sec. Okay, so a couple of things I got here. I have a big old scrap of batting. I'm not really sure what it is. I'm thinking it is cotton. It feels like cotton. I don't know what it is. It is Quilter's Dream, I can tell you that. But I'm not sure which one it is. I'm not even going to guess. But it's my scrap. And it is large enough for a stocking. Now, the stocking here, see, this is where we're going to build the template with some things that we have. And if you don't have, I'm going to tell you a suggestion on where you can get some things. But this is a stocking that I've had. I don't even know where it came from. I want to say it was the PX when we lived overseas, but I have no earthly idea. I just have a bunch of random stockings that I have. So I'm going to take the shape. So I'm going to fold out that cuff. So I have a little bit of a straighter edge to work with. Okay. I have it laid on top of my batting. All right. And I'm just simply going to trace it. This is a disappearing ink. Really doesn't matter if it's disappearing or not. But I'm just simply going to go all the way around. And I'm going to do this with a different stocking too, so we'll get to play with another one. But I stop about where each side ends, and when I pull up the stocking, I hope you can see that. Let me adjust the light just a second. Yep, it's harder to see, but there is a definite area here. Now, something that I do, and you're not required well, it just makes life easier. Let's just close the top. Okay, so I'm going to take point to point and just going to close the top. Make a straight line. All right. Now, I want to tell you, we're going to baste a stitch on here. And when I do, I have learned to go outside of what I just traced. Because remember, just like we're about to do, these stockings, they do have a seam inside, okay? So I want to take in some account for that. So I'm going to and I'm going to take you with the sewing machine. I'm going to use red, so I definitely will be able to see it. And it's okay. Well, it doesn't matter what color you use, guys, because none of this is going to show. But we're just building a template for our topper. So I'm going to do a basting stitch, I don't know, about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch away, all the way around. Okay. And that'll give me something to start to work with. All right. It doesn't really, I would go more than a 1/4 inch, definitely. Give yourself some space. But, and I'll show you what happened. So one of the test ones that I did not take the seam in, and look how much smaller it comes out. So it's large. Okay. So you just want to be sure we're going to do a stitch so we can see the outline on both sides of our batting. So this is the first one. Now I can't work this batting is huge. I've got a lot of it. So I'm just going to cut a larger square round just so it makes it a little bit more manageable. Okay. Doesn't have to be precise. We're going to be cutting this a couple of times. All right, but there's the first one, and I'll do a basting stitch with you on this one. So I'm going to lay this one aside. Now, I'm going to do 2 stockings with you, right? So I'm going to lay this batting out once again. Now this thing's a little bit messy, this next one. It's got glitter. Glitter's everywhere right now. But you know what? It's Christmas, so glitter's allowed, isn't it? All right. The next one is a little skinnier and shaped a little different. And I don't know what this is going to look like, so this is a complete experiment between the two. I want to say, if you don't have a stocking that you want to play with, I want to say years ago, I bought this from the Dollar Tree because I know they carry stockings at the Dollar Tree. So for $1, you can get yourself, you know, about the shape that you would like. Okay. So that way you're not dependent on another. Well, first of all, I don't like building paper if I can help it. I don't like taping it. I don't like doing any of that. There's a lot of really cool methods to build your own templates with paper. And if that's something you want to do, perfect. But this way, I don't need any of that. I am just going to, again, I'm going to trace this. That wasn't really straight. Okay, just all the way around. Giving myself a template. All right. We're going to pull it up. That's pretty cool. All right, so I am going to, again, do a stitch, and I'm using red thread all the way around. Let's go ahead and, well, this will be fun. I have no earthly idea how this one will look. We're going to do this one together. I thought it'd be fun to do something with you. So we're going to close that off. Boom, just like that. There is our template, and the next step is doing the stitch. So I'm just going to show you on one of them. Oh, no, it's not. We got to cut this one out because this is a huge piece. Let's go ahead and cut this out a little bit. Almost forgot. I would have remembered later when I'm about to put it underneath the sewing machine. But I'm going to take you to my sewing machine and do that stitch with you on the other one. And then we can go to the next step. We're about to have some fun today. So I'll see you in just a second. All right. I know it's hard to see maybe. Well, you can kind of see this. This is disappearing ink, so I want to get this done quickly. I'm not too worried about nesting or anything like that as long as everything goes well with my thread. And it doesn't get locked up somewhere. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to line this up. I believe my walking foot is about 3/8 of an inch. I'm just going to give a little space. It really doesn't matter what you use for your seam distance, as long as you're consistent throughout. So I'm just going to kind of guesstimate. It'll all be fine in the end. You will see. So I'm just going to simply go around. Oh, and if you do notice, I do have my walking foot on, and I'll tell you, I just went ahead and kept it on for the whole thing because eventually we're going to go through several layers, but I'm pretty sure you could probably get away with it if you didn't have a walking foot. I didn't try it, but I don't think it's the end of the world. It just makes life easier. I think we're coming up to the other side now. When I get up to the top here, I'm going to go a little bit further. Yeah, see, I didn't do too bad. I just kind of guesstimated. Ooh, that line's starting to disappear already. Looking to see how far I got to go because the line is barely there. And I'm just going to go straight off the edge. It's a habit to do this. I lift the presser foot, I move it out, just gives a little tail, but it's not necessary at this point. So I got her all done. You'll see it in the next clip, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing to the other stocking off camera, and I'll be back for the next step with you in just a sec. Okay, so this is what we have all the way around. Now this one's bigger. Every time if you do it this method, they'll each be different sizes, but there's the back so you can honestly see the outline. Okay, and we're going to talk about that in just a second, but here's the other one that I did, and we're going to put this one aside because we're going to build the topper to the first one, but I just wanted to show you. Okay, all right, put that aside, and I'll bring in the one I started. Now here's what I'm talking about. Each one will be different. Okay, now I'm going to show you how I got to this place, and we'll talk about how to get this started, and then we will go from there. So the first thing, because every one of them is different, and now let me tell you, I built for this one based off of this one. You're going to see some differences. All right, and that's okay. If I wanted to, I could back up and regroup and do some, but I'm not going to. So the first thing I would do is I would measure your longest, well, it might help if I read the ruler correctly. Okay, so I went over a bit, right? So I'm going to come up straight on that. All right, and what it looks like, the biggest area I have is about, oh, I'd say 10 and a half to 10 and 6/8, or that's not right, 10 and 5/8. So if you wanted to play it safe, this one I would actually cut 11-inch strips to start, and that probably means you also need to do a different number of squares, but this is what I'm talking about. So each one of these are going to be different, and you'll need to accommodate for however big your stocking is, because it could be smaller than this, it could be smaller than the one I did. No worries. I actually cut 10 and a half because that's how big my other one was, and we're going to get this one started. Now I'm putting this on top. If you notice, I had the trees on top, but this is going to be covered by this is the top of my stocking, and so my cuff's going to, I love this fabric, so I want it to show. So I switched the design. Not a big deal. You have freedom to do them all very different if you wanted to, but these are 2.5-inch strips wide. Everything is 2.5 inches. So this is 2.5-inch strip. I actually cut by 10 and a half. Then I did 2.5-inch squares. I used my scrap from Fat Quarter, from the Charm Holiday Fat Quarter from Bernitex. So, or Benitex. So I basically measured out how many it would take. I just did 5 going across and 2 going down. If my stocking was bigger, I might need to do 6 going across, which is actually what I should be doing on this one, but I'm not. So, because I'm good, I'll make it work. So you're going to watch this, but 2.5-inch strips, I ended up having to use 3 of them. 5 by 2, because it covers all of my lines, and you're going to see this in just a second. I might need more, I might need less. So it's all depending on how big your stocking and your template is, okay? So 5 by 2, and then another strip, 2.5 by 10.5, 5 by 2, another strip, and then this section, you can't see it, but it only needed 3. So I picked 3 different ones, and I just did a little section of 3. And I did a little bit of quilting. I know you probably can't see that, but we'll discuss that here in a little bit. And I just use my walking foot, guys. I'm just trying to make this really simple. I don't even know if you're not going to wash them. I wouldn't even bother if you didn't want to. But you can do some, we're going to talk about that. You can do some really simple stuff just to add a little fun to it. So we're going to get this one started. Now remember, I should be using 11 inches. And I should be probably using 6x2 on my stocking here. But I don't. So that's okay. So we're going to lay down our first strip. So what that is doing for us is it's giving us a straight line. Now I'm going to actually pull this over a little bit, because what you'll have to realize is this is going to be in you're going to create a seam over here. So if there's some little bit hanging off, as long as it's not like that much, because then you'll miss it, right? Having a little bit is not going to hurt anything. Okay. So I'm just putting up the first one. Now I will say, I feel like batting sticks really, really well. So I'm not feeling like I need to pin, but you can pin if you so desire. There would be absolutely nothing wrong with that. So I've already got my 5x2. Now what's important is I kind of guesstimate a 1/4 inch where it would lay down. Okay. And I'm going to lay it out, and I'm going to make sure that it's going to cover all the line when I lay it out. So you could actually even go one step further if you wanted to, and flip it over and really take a gander. But I just kind of guesstimate laying it on top, what a 1/4 inch would look like, and make sure that where I'm thinking, now see, I have a little bit of red sticking out, but that's okay, because we're going to have it inside a seam. And it's not enough for me to stress about. Now, you can do a couple of things. You could actually start, you know, kind of laying everything out. Now this print, there's nothing crazy. If you wanted it right sides, if you had a directional fabric, you'd need to pay attention. Not yet, but soon. But if you're just guesstimating, it doesn't matter where this sits. Okay. You can just lay it anywhere you need to. Now I'm doing this because I want to show you what I'm going to end up having here, because I realize this, I should be using 6x2 instead of 5x2. Now, if you're really concerned about keeping these lines straight, as far as going in between the the 2.5 inch squares, then yeah, in this situation, you would definitely need to add another square. Okay. But I ain't gonna. We're gonna play. Now, if you'll notice, I already have some hanging off a little bit too much. So this is why I say, in this situation, when I measured and realized that my 10.5 was not going to be long enough, I also realized that my 5x2 would not be long enough. This is why you want to do your template first and measure those wide points to see exactly. And you could just start building 2.5 inch squares and just lay out 1.5 or 1.6 or 1.4 and just see how things are going to lay out. This tells me I should be doing it at 6, and I could always, for like the smaller side, I could just, you know, if I had another one here, we could just simply eyeball what might be around the center. But again, I'm trying to make this easy for me. And if you're anything like me, you just want to get her done. So I'm just going to lay that one out. I'm going to 1/4 inch seam it. Let's just make sure the rest is going to fall through. And then I'm going to show you how we start to assemble this very easily after we get to see where we are going to sit. Okay. And this is a problem, but I'll fix it at the end. I'll just, when I do my 1/4 inch, I'll make it on around this toe. I'll probably end up making it a little bigger, or I'll cut before I sew into that area. You'll see. I'm going to do with you, so we'll get to see what happens. But this last one, this is how the other side ended up too. Let me pull this up just a little. It's just a little bit of a bump. So I used 3, which was more than big enough, and it'll cut into this. Now, like I said, if it's going to bother you, see how this line does not line up straight? Then you'll want to make these longer and make sure you can cover everything based on how many 2.5-inch squares will help you do that. Okay. I mean, I could have done a full 5 going across. Well, heck, no, actually, I got enough room. I could just lay it equal because I'm still not hitting that circle. Okay. So lots of fun there. Lesson learned. Measure before you figure out exactly how many 2.5-inch squares you will need. They will finish at 2 inches inside of here. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Right now they have a 1/4 inch on each side. So I have a 10.5 that matches this 10.5-ish. And, but like I said, this one, I needed 11 inches to really be able to cover everything. So I should be using a 1/6 on each of these rows. That would make sure that everything was good to go. But I'm not stressed. If I'm not stressed, you're not stressed. It's going to be beautiful. And we're going to play. All right, so let's go ahead and start getting this together. Let me do it this way. So the first one, like I said, we lay down along that top edge, getting her nice and straight. And you want to make sure, using those lines, that it is in fact covering it, and it will cover. Now this is going to be in your seam, but this gives you a really good idea that you're working well. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this to the sewing machine. Now I have to set up my thread. I'm going to use, I want to make sure I line this up correctly. So I'm going to go a little bit inside of that line. And see how I've lined it up just about a 1/4 inch over it. Okay. So I get a good idea of if this is going to cover everything or not. And remember, I should have a little bit sticking out over here. Okay. But I'm going to load up. I'm going to use beige for now. Light beige with Aurifil 50 weight. But I'm going to place this right on top. Now, if you want to go ahead and pin, feel free to do so. I am not going to pin, but there'd be absolutely nothing wrong with pinning. You just put a pin in here a couple places so it'll stay, but away from your stitching line, because what we're going to do is we're going to sew a 1/4 inch line right along here. Okay. Right along the bottom is we're going to sew right onto the batting. We don't have any backing. That is exactly what I'm doing here. No backing, just simply stitching that 1/4 inch line right here on our this one's a 5x2. So I will see you guys in just a sec. So if you'll notice, I'm actually kind of sewing it a little bit backwards. That is because, meaning, usually I'm sewing a 1/4 inch seam from this side, right? But I'm actually sewing it from this side. This is where my seam is going to go, right along here. And the reason is, this is the only reason. Feel free to do it normally with everything flipped. But this is the smaller side, and I wanted less near the machine, and I wouldn't have to bunch up all of this. So it looks a little funny, but it works the same. And I will tell you, my 1/4 inch is somewhere in here in that slit. So I'm going to attempt to sew this straight and use that area as my guide. It's actually more closely related to this part right here. Now, I'm not an expert at sewing through a camera yet. You'd think I would be, but I'm not. So, but that's my goal, okay? It really doesn't matter exactly how much of a seam that you use, except that you'll have to make more if you take more of a seam for this part. But you do want to just try to stay somewhat consistent One of the things I like about this project is it doesn't require expertise to the T. We want to make this simple. So I'm going to hold on to my thread. I'm going to go ahead and get this started. Now, if I notice starting to shift, I'm just going to arrange everything here to try to keep it straight. Now, that's why pinning might be a good idea. When you come up to a seam that's heading the opposite direction, just make sure your foot doesn't flip it. Okay. I did change my thread to Orifil 2000. So that way it doesn't show too bad. That red would probably haunt me if I kept it in there. You might see that through some of the fabrics. So, just going to keep on going. Keep it on. Keep on keeping on. Oop, got a little bit off, but that's okay. It's not the end of the world. All right. Oh, out of habit. I know I probably waste more thread doing that. But let me show you what we do next. See you guys in just a sec. Okay, so this is what we have here. I pulled this straight off. Now I ended up moving it just a little more. See how this is different? That's okay. It is all going to work out, I promise. Okay, so you don't have to press this if you so don't want to. You could actually, well, either way, you're going to have to do something. You could simply finger press it, but I'm going to go ahead and press it. So I relaxed my seams, and then I'm just going to simply press it towards the down side, making it all nice and pretty. Okay, now here's the deal. I would not use polyester and then put your iron right on top. If you use the batting of polyester, make sure you keep your iron covered, and even then you would have to do a lower setting because you wouldn't want to melt your polyester. And remember how I talked about shifting? It shifted just a bit. Really, guys, this is the beautiful thing. I know the other one looks much better. That is because my strips are a little different. Okay. They should have been longer, right? But it's not a big deal. I'm going to show you how we're going to deal with that. But you can actually see a little bit of this stocking right here. Okay, so once you have your however many long you have, but we have 5 by 2, so if you have the same size, wonderful. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to place this one, and we want to give it about a 1/2 inch, making sure that whenever we put it down, we are in fact going to come and cover all of this. And this one, there's no problem. Okay, we are good to go. So I'm just going to simply put it right on top. And like I said, I feel like the batting holds this cotton well enough. But if you really wanted to, feel free to pin it. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing over and over. I'm going to stitch a 1/4 inch. I'm going to relax my seams, press it down. The next one we'll add is the 2.5 inch squares. Okay, so you do that until you're all finished. Let me move this out of the way. All right, and what you'll have is what I showed you at the beginning. Okay, so we have the strip, the 2.5 inch square sewn together, finishing at 2 inches. We have a strip, we have the squares, we have the strip, we have the squares. So before I take you to the next step, number one, I'm going to finish that other one for you so you can see how I fix it. But number two, we are going to start on our next topper. Okay, so for this project, I am going to be using, aren't those gorgeous colors? Aren't they pretty? Here, let me turn that up just a bit. Oh, I wanted you to be able to see that beautiful color. This is Holiday Flourish. It's a Robert Kaufman. It's a roll up, not a jelly roll, but there are 40 2.5-inch strips by width of fabric. Okay, in these gorgeous colors. I look forward to this every year. I don't know how many years they're on now, but every year I look forward to this. We still have some of these in the shop if you're interested, but it's part of their holiday color story, Holiday Flourish. And I've used some of them. So if I have to open another pack, darn. However, the first thing I'm going to do, we're going to be using these strips. I'm going to just kind of lay out some coloring. You know, of course, some of the time you have 2 of one, but I'm going to put them in color. So that's a real good green, isn't it? That one looks like an off-white. Oh, isn't that just gorgeous? And I will tell you, the gold is metallic. So that's a little lighter, but it's within the same family. All right. I'm going to do this one separate, but this is what I do. I just go through the jelly roll and figure out, ooh, that one's like an in-between too, isn't it? What I have, what is in this process. And the reason is I'm going to be doing this strip stocking. These are more blacks, just so you can see them. There's a lot of heavy black in there, which will add a beautiful contrast if I want it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, I think I only have a couple of reds, but I am going to want to put some of the reds in there. So I think I'm going to start with, let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these. 3, I mean, this could go either way, it just really depends. This is definitely an off-white, but it has no color. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a green. Well, that could go either way too, right? I think that looks more red. All right, so I'm going to start. Whew, that's an in-between. I'm going to start with the green. That's where we're going to start. And I'll pull them and hold them up in Audition as I go, but you'll see that in just a second. Let's go ahead and get this started. Notice I haven't cut anything, guys. Okay? So, in order to give myself a little bit of a straight line to do this, I'm actually going to, somewhere here, I'm going to start in the middle. So I'm just going to take it and fold it, giving myself a little bit of a crease. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to see that. Oh yeah, you can see it a little bit, but I definitely can. So this is where I'm going to start, okay? So I'm going to start with that green. And the first piece goes right side up, just like the other one. And what you want to make sure, now I'm not going to cut the selvage here, but I don't want it to be on the stocking. So I'm just going to simply lay that out, making sure that I am covering my lines. Now this stocking is a lot, you know, there's no measuring, there's no putting 2.5-inch strips together. There's a whole lot of nothing but just having more fun with this beautiful fabric. And you could use any jelly roll that you wanted, but I'm just going to simply cut and be done. Just like that. Okay, then I'm going to decide on my next color, and I think what I'm going to go ahead and do are these bulbs because they're just super cute. Okay. Now this one, I'm also, if you really wanted to, you could go ahead and just cut the selvage so you knew where it was. You don't have to be straight. You don't have to be precise. But remember, we always want to make sure that when we're going to make it the same way as the other one, we want to make sure that when we flip it, that it's going to cover the whole area of those lines. Okay, and what you'll start to see is you won't need as much in skinnier places, and if there's something wider, then you'll need to have a longer piece. So you might see a nice wave going, but I'm just going to simply go ahead and give it a cut. And if you're nervous, give yourself a little more. However, I'm going to take it to the sewing machine. Okay, just like so. Make sure that's right. I'm going to give myself a little extra over here because I think I need it. Okay, so I'm just going to take this over to the sewing machine, and just like we did the other one, you put the right sides together and you go ahead and sew a 1/4 inch seam right along here. Okay, so I don't know if you noticed because it went pretty fast, but there's my stitch line. It's actually a little bigger. This is the area than a 1/4 inch. These, and I'll tell you why I did that. Number one, it was easier because I had a better line to be guiding me. Number two, it was much, the roll-ups, mine particularly, when you measure the strip, it's actually like, instead of 2 1/2, it's like 2 5/8 or so. So I can afford to go a little bit extra. It doesn't really matter as long as you stay consistent, but I just wanted to point that out. Okay, so I'm going to relax my seam. Okay, now, and actually, well, I didn't relax it that well. I just smashed it. Okay, I'm going to flip this around because it's easier for me to press up than down, reaching over myself. So then I'm just going to simply fold this over, and we're just going to keep doing this until everything is, ooh, that iron's hot. Everything is pressed or sealed up. The whole stocking is sealed up. So I'm going to get the next one while I'm waiting for this to cool a little bit. And I dipped in, I think I want this color. It looks, there is some red and some green that'll help tie this all together. So I think this is going to be my next strip. Okay, we're going to make this really easy. Give that just a second. We can go ahead, if you want to, you can cut off the selvage if you so desire. Remember, you don't have to be precise. There's nothing about any of these that are precision. You don't have to worry about having exact anything. It's not a precision thing here. We're having fun, either making one for yourself, for a gift, put a gift in. I mean, how fun would that be? Okay. So now we're going to work with this one. So again, I'm going to go over about a 1/4 inch. Okay. I might take it just a little higher just to play. And if you want to make sure you're good, whoop, I don't want to cut anything I'm not supposed to. You can cut a little extra. And see, I can actually move this one down just a hair, but we can see that I'm going to cover everything. Okay, so you could play with it. You could actually just flip it over just to be sure. I'm going to come over just a little. And if we put it down, we see we're good. So we're just going to line this up. And again, we're going to stitch that 1/4 inch. And I'm going to show you one more thing in the next round, so I'll see you guys in just a sec. So here's my seam. I'm going to flip it around. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and relax it just a bit. Go ahead and press. Oh, I'm loving this. Isn't it fun? Okay. Now, while this is cooling just a bit, I need to decide on another fabric. So I think I want to go with an off-white. Just to, well, maybe. Let's think about this. Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead with an off-white. All right. So I want it to be different. So I think I'm going to play with this one. Adds a little green and gold and that off-white color. Super cute, love it. Then we're just going to take our scissors. Doesn't have to be straight, guys. Remember. Oh, look at the selvage on that. There's snowflakes, guys. Isn't that cute? Okay, sorry. I got distracted. Okay. So I'm going to go to this side. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep it upside down here because I think this is easier for now. And again, we want to experiment a little bit because we want to make sure see if I lined it up here, for instance, when I flip this over, we'd be missing this whole area down here. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go a little bit more over. I'm going to make sure I'm good. Okay. And then I'm going to give it a cut. Flip it right on over. We experiment, looking good. And I'm going to stitch this one at 1/4 inch. Now, like I said, feel free to pin if this makes you feel better, but I feel good. I'm okay. If you're okay, I'm okay, right? But make sure you put the right sides together when you do this. The only one that went right side up was the first one. Now, to save myself some time, I'm going to mess with the other side. All right. So I'm going to go with another off-white. Maybe. Yeah, I'll do it. Okay. Well, okay. So this is where the experimenting comes, right? So if you wanted to, actually, I'm going to just lay this one right on top because I have that situated. Okay. Just lay it up here. It's what we're going to be looking like. Where's the green? The green's underneath that. Well, let's play. Let's do this right. Do I like that one? No, I don't like that one. I could go deeper, but I don't really want to go deeper. So these are poinsettias, and if I really wanted to get finicky about it, I think I want to put one so it shows more in the center here. So I'm going to cut this off at this side instead. Okay. Move it over just a bit. Got to move it up. I can see the fabric underneath, so I know it might be hard for you, but I'm guesstimating. And that way I got a nice flower going on here. Let's pull this up. That'll be easier. All right, I'm just going to give myself a cut. Okay. All right. Then when I go to the sewing machine, okay, I'm going to sew 2 of them at the same time. Oh, now I got to fix that one. So if you're going to do something like that, feel free again to pin, which I probably will before I get to the sewing machine, because that way I can bunch up whatever I need to. I just want to make sure, yeah, this needs to come down. There we go. That's much better. So I'm going to find my pins, and I'm going to go ahead and pin it because that way I can bunch things up and I won't have to worry so much about slippage. When I'm sewing one side, it'll be all right. Okay. Now, I just don't want it to slide a whole bunch, but I want to stay out of the way of my walking foot. Make sure I went through all the layers. All right. So let's take this to the sewing machine. Right sides are together. I have them pinned in place. 1/4 inch seam, 1/4 inch seam. And I'll see you guys in just a sec. Okay, she's all done. Whoop, whoop. All right. So you can give it one final press. Make sure she's nice and flat. Now let's talk about quilting. I will be very honest with you. I am not going to quilt this one. I think it is fine just as much as it is. But you could echo. You could stitch in the ditch. You could do anything you wanted. If you are going to free motion quilt, I had a little trouble with tension because I don't have a backing on here. Okay. You could wait until after we add the backing, or you could baste the backing onto the back side of this. I'm not doing it that way. This is supposed to be fast, easy, and fun. So I'm not in any shape or form feeling like I want to do any quilting to this one. Okay. I think it is just fine, just the way it is. I know it doesn't look like much right now, but we're going to get to the next step. But in the meantime, I did quilt a little bit on this one. Now it's really hard to see, but in this dark area, I have an X. So what I've done is an X in all of these 2-inch squares finished, 2.5-inch square strips, right? I left this one because I'm going to show you how I did that. I'm going to speed up the video in it. I did eyeball, guys, because why? Because this is supposed to be fun and fast, and it didn't do too bad. So I felt very comfortable with it. Now, the one thing I am going to change on the second one that we've done, where I started it with you and realized I should have more squares, right? And longer strips. I'm going to use a mint green instead of this beige. I think it'll look nicer. It's a personal preference. But that's what I'm going to do for that one. But I went ahead and I've done this area and this area. I started with here. I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to show you a little direction. Now, mind you, I did not do any quilting in these strips. I don't feel like it needs it. It didn't really even need it here. I just wanted to add a little texture to it because it's different. So you could do whatever you like. You don't have to do anything. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I do not plan on washing these. And if I do, the way that we're making them, they're easily fixable. So at any rate, what I'm going to do is I don't know which side I'll start on. It'll depend on when I sit down and how it works. But here's what I'm basically going to do. I'm going to start here. I'm going to come down just down the middles, down 2 of them. And then I'm going to go back up. And then I'm going to go down halfway. Okay. Then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to go the opposite direction. Okay. And then I'm going to start in the middle here and I'm going to go the opposite directions on these guys. Okay. And you will see exactly what I mean when we get in here. I'm going to get it started, but I'm going to speed the video up because that way you're not sitting here all day watching me painfully at times stitch this out. But I just wanted to give you an idea of exactly what my map was. And again, I did start with this one. I moved out and I moved out. It's a habit for me to start as close to the center as possible and go outwards. So that's what I've done. I don't plan on doing anything to these. I'm not even going to stitch in the ditch, although you very well can. You can do whatever you like. You could even do some straight lines right through it. You could use a decorative stitch, maybe the wave, and just wave down straight through it, all along where the seams are. Do whatever you like. This is supposed to be fun and fast and easy, so you don't even have to do anything if you really don't want to. It will be fine as long as you don't plan on washing it, right? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'll bring you in, so I'll see you in just a sec. So I've decided to start over here, and the reason is because this is a smaller end of my quilt top, it might get in the way anyway because we're going to be changing direction, and that's fine. One thing I will mention, when you do go to change direction, make sure you leave, if possible, your needle down function. That will allow it to keep its place, right? And because I'm going to go ahead and start off of my quilt top, I'm not going to pull threads up, okay? Normally I do, but it's not necessary. I am going to lower mine. Now, if you're going to eyeball this, it's really important to look ahead. You will be amazed how, like, you can eyeball the direction and then just keep an eye on the prize, and you'll be amazed at how well your eyes will do this. Now, I want to also mention, if you do this motif on this one, I am starting in the real corner. And if you remember, we're going to have a 1/4 inch seam come in. So my X's won't be exactly centered. And I'm also going to be cutting off some of the square. So just an FYI, this is just for me or for my family or anything. Everything is perfectly fine. There is no need to have perfection. If you want it to be perfect, there is a different method for that. So I just wanted something with you guys to do where you didn't have to stress over anything. And you know, what do we say? Homemade is happiness, right? So this will definitely be homemade, and it will definitely spread happiness and joy. Okay, so I've got them all stitched. We're ready for the next part. Okay, so we're going to start with this first one that I just showed you some of the quilting up here. Okay, so we're going to start with that one. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to take a pair of scissors. Yep, pair of scissors. And we're just simply going to cut around that stitch that we made. Okay, just following it, just as easy peasy as can be. You don't have to be super exact about it. This is going to be in the seam, but it's still giving us a way to, and now I'm going to cut this one just a little bit further out, and you'll understand why here in a minute. But it's going to give us another template. Okay. This is why it was important, no matter which method you do. This is the same The rest of this video is exactly the same for no matter which kind of stocking that you do. Okay. Just try not to get into the stitch. It wouldn't hurt anything at the end of the day, but it is going to give us a better template. Make sure you're not cutting the stocking itself underneath. Ask me how I know. If something feels chunky, check. Okay. So there we have it. Now when we flip it over, we need to take a peek on what exactly is going on. And if you'll notice, I do have a tiny itty bitty bit of, I don't even know if you can see that, but it's batting. I'm pretty sure my seam is going to cover that, but I will have to watch. Okay. You could round it out a little bit if you so desired. You could just take your scissors and round it out. Just to hide it a little bit. There. Alright, now this top piece, what I like to do, it's probably too big. Let me grab a smaller ruler. Okay. I just like to make sure that I'm getting something really straight. And I'm going to end up cutting off just a little bit. And I will use my rotary cutter. Boom. There she blows. Okay. So, there's our stocking. And it's ready. I still want to round this corner out just a little bit more. Make it look a little nicer. A little rounder. Nothing crazy. Alright, much better. I got quite a mess over here, guys. So that's our first one. I will tell you, I did cut that one out where I told you I should have had more. Now I want to share with you. If you'll notice, let me move this one out of the way. I ended up having to add, these were 3. I added 2 more to make 5, just to make sure things were covered. But you'll notice I have all these issues. Well, guess what, guys? I'm going to do the exact same thing. And I'm just going to round her out. Okay. There we go. There's one. This one right here, I think a 6.5 inch ruler will work. I'm just going to take it straight down. The rest of that will be in the seam. We'll come over here. I will do the same-ish thing. And then I'm going to have to make it straight on top. Okay. Oh, I just saw I have one more place that I have to work with. There we go. Boom. There she is. Looking good. Got one more section here. This will be, that little piece right there is not a big deal. It'll be in the seam. That really is not that big of a deal. Probably be, well, no, I can't see that way. Feels a little awkward. I'm actually going to have to take this down just a little bit more. There we go. Now, I very simply could have used a cup or a mug or, you know, one of those small plates that, I don't know. I put bowls on them when they're hot to carry, but, you know, just a little plate. I'm not sure what it's for, but you could actually put that on there and try to get a nice rounded corner. But I think it's cute, and if I really want to, I can even take more in. We'll see what happens, right? But these are not set in stone. That is the whole entire point. Is it's a good place to start, and when you figure out you have to manipulate it, then you do what you got to do. Okay, so before we start the next step, the one thing I like to do is audition cuffs. We're not going to cut them yet, but I like to audition cuffs. And for this one, well, actually, we're going to keep going. We'll audition the cuffs here in a little bit. Let's go ahead to the next step. Okay. The next step we're going to use this template, okay? And we are going to cut backing and the liner, because I am going to hide this, but I'm only going to use one liner personally, okay? But I just want to hide the stitching. You don't have to do this. You do not have to use a liner. It's completely up to you. But I'm going to first audition my other fabric here. Now, the backing. This is my backing, hopefully. If it's not big enough, then I know I can't use it. But remember, I told you I'm really trying to utilize as much of my fabric as possible, and not, I do have a backup plan, but I think this one is just a little too small. Now I got one more extra piece. That looks like it's going to be too small also. It is. Okay. So, plan B. I have some extra fabric. I'll show it to you in a little bit, but right now I'm trying to get the liner. All I'm doing, whoop, yep, that's right. I want to get the liner. So I'm putting it right side facing down. Okay. Oh, and this is going to work beautiful. Now, I have enough of this fabric, I think, just for one more. If it will fit two, I'll use it for both. I don't want to use anything pretty. This has definitely been in my stash for a number of years, or you know, I don't know if you call that a stash piece or a scrap piece, but I don't want to use anything super crazy in here either. So if I don't have enough of this particular fabric, then I'm just going to use Kona white, okay? Because it doesn't have to be anything pretty. It's on the inside. I am not super concerned about what the inside looks like. Okay, so at this point, what we're going to do, I do have it right side facing down, and I have enough for this. Now I'm going to cut. I did not starch my backing. I know, right? Can you believe it? And I haven't done a whole lot with it, but this is what I'm going to use for my backing. It is Buttermilk Acres. It's Christmas at Buttermilk Acres. It's the Snowflake Off-White. Okay. So we just kind of, I'm just listening. Y'all are going to be like, what is she doing? Yeah. You've never seen me cut like this, but this is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to just put this piece down. Okay. I'm going to put my stocking on here. I don't need a lot of room, so I'm going to use this edge, and I'm just going to cut a little bit around it. Yes, I know. Super crazy, right, guys? I'm telling you. Easy. We're doing this easy breezy. And I'm going to do this for each of my stockings. All 3 of them. So now my background fabric, or my backing fabric, excuse me, is right sides facing down. Then I'm going to take and I'm going to place my liner, also right sides facing down. And I'm going to take my stocking, get it all nice and pretty on here. Now, okay, so I grab my pins and I'm just going to simply pin it in place. Okay, it's going to help us cut. Now remember, I have my topper facing right side facing me, my lining right side facing down, and my backing right side facing down. Okay, so it's very important that you line them up correctly. And I'm trying not to create wrinkles. Oh, I just used that one. That's okay. You want to try and keep everything nice and straight and flat. But you don't want a whole lot of shifting. And you're going to unpin this so it's not crazy. You don't have to get crazy with it. Okay, I'm just going to put 2 more. I really don't want this to shift a whole bunch. That's a bad needle. Wonder how long it's been in there that I just keep putting it back in it. Okay, so get it nice and flat and pretty. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut right along this edge, plain and simple, through all 3 layers. Okay, so there's a rough estimate, right? So I'm going to pull these pins out. I just wanted to hold it in place while we did that. There's actually another way we could align this. We wouldn't have to go through 8,000 steps. Whoop, missed a pin. But this way I'm checking myself. So we want to make sure that we're on the lining correctly. Then we're going to take our backing fabric, okay, and we're just going to line it up, right sides facing together. This one needs to come over just a smidge. There we go. Okay, so there is our sandwich. We've got our top piece. Our backing, right side facing down. We've got our stocking, topper, right side facing towards us. And we've got our lining, okay, right sides facing down. Now all we're going to do at this point is we're going to stitch following this line, our template. I'm going to go ahead and pin this, so don't think I won't. So you want to pin it in place, and then you're going to stitch a 1/4 inch, not up here. You're going to start here, do a little back stitch, please, back stitch, come all around a 1/4 inch all the way around. Come back up here and back stitch. Okay, so I'm going to get mine pin basted basically. Now when you pin, make sure you're not in the way of your seam, okay? But I'm going to make sure it doesn't shift at all. So I'll get mine all pinned and I'll get it stitched, and I'll see you in the minute for the next part. So I got everything pin basted and almost sewed, and it would have made things a lot more fun. It would have been a workaround, but it wouldn't have been a big deal. But I thought we'd do this before you pin base this together. And ideally, you might want the whole thing showing, but I'm okay. You're okay, we're okay. Okay, I want to audition my cuff. So what I have to decide, well, first I have to figure out how long this is. Okay, so from point to point, we're looking at about I'll say 10 1/4. So we're looking about 10 1/4. So what you want to do with your cuff, and that's probably because I chopped some off, and I'm going to actually make it 10 1/4 on purpose. There we go. So you want to take that number, okay? You want to multiply by 2. So 10 1/4 plus, or times 2, or plus 10 1/4, that would be 20 1/2, okay? 20 1/2, you want to add another half, so that gives us 21. So we're going to need 21 inches of fabric for our cuff. Now that's important to understand. I was going to audition. Actually, I'll show you what I was going to do, but I can already tell you I do not have enough of the fabric. Well, I guess I could piecemeal it. Yeah, well, I don't know. Let's see how long this is. Nope, can't piecemeal it. Okay. So I was going to take, if you have any fat quarters that might work, or you have stash that might work, I really wanted to use this. I thought that would be absolutely darling, but I don't have enough. So because of that, I have backups. Remember, I have backups over backups, guys. So what I'm going to end up doing, I don't think I have a single fat quarter left out of my, wait a minute, I do have one. How about that? Let's see. Just want to audition it. Now this one's darker, okay? Let's pull a couple more pins out. It is darker. It matches. It's part of the same line, so it will match, but man, that sure is dark. It will work if I wanted to do that, and I might use it on one of the two that are nearly the same, but I'm thinking what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to use this off-white, the same as the backing. I think I'm going to play it safe with that and keep that in line with the idea. But something you want to do every time you are working with, before you pin, when you're working with it, you want to audition it, kind of like this one. Okay, this is the other one. This is going to look really good with it. Isn't that cute? It's got the same coloration, two different lines, right? This is Buttermilk Basin. This is Robert Kaufman, right? But I think it works really, really well. I think it ties in with some of the gold flecks and some of the off-white coloring. I think it matches really well. But again, you can use anything you want. You just have to make sure you measure your stocking to make sure you have a piece that is large enough. Okay, so my bottom one is going to take 21 inches. So, but we'll get to that next. I just wanted to talk about auditioning fabric and making sure that you test your you know, check your, whoops, that's too high. Check your seam, check your distance to see if you have enough fabric, and then make sure that you like the fabric that is on there. But I'm just going to match it, playing it safe. Okay, I'm going to get this repinned, and then I'll get it sewn, and I'll see you guys in just a sec. All right, so we are on the last of this stocking. Now remember, I'm going to do the other two off camera, so when I come back at you, I'll have them all done for you, so you can actually see. But the process again is the same. Now, at this point, we have sewed all the way around, okay? I've backstitched here and I've backstitched here, so when I go to flip this, everything will be fine and dandy. I am going to go ahead and snip some of my threads, even the ones that are kind of loosey-goosey, just because, you know, we're manipulating it and it will always start to shred. So the one thing, when you're done with this, you want to make sure that you check both sides. Well, there's another, well, no, okay. You want to check both sides to make sure you've gone through all your fabric, okay? I will be real transparent with you. When I sewed along here, when I flipped it over, I was too close. It's hard for you to see, but that's what happened. So I went back and I did another stitch, making sure that I've captured all the fabric. The other thing I noticed is I've got a little extra on top here, okay? So I'm just going to clean it up a bit, just so I have a straightish line. And the next thing, I actually have the machine on an extra camera. I will tell you guys, I'm working on a way for you to see me all the time. Hopefully before the end of the year I'll have that squared, but if I don't, it'll definitely happen by next year that you won't have to look at my hands all the time. I mean, I know that it's good that you can see everything, but I don't know. I think it's kind of weird that you don't get to see my face. Okay, so I cleaned that up just a little bit. And remember we said 21 inches, right? Well, now we've got a seam. It may have taken some in. I may have shifted some fabric. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my ruler again and just do a little check. And I'm looking for seam. Here, we'll do it like this. Seam to seam, okay? And you can have a little extra, that is fine. And I will tell you, it really does look like 10 inches now. So 10 times 2 is 20, plus the ½ inch, which I don't think I explained. The extra ½ inch that I'm putting in there is for a seam allowance on the cuff. So instead of 21, I'm going to do 20.5. But working with a number, when we checked it before, that gave me a really good idea on exactly what I needed to do for, you know, to make sure I had enough fabric. Okay, now we're working with what I actually have. So I double checked everything. So I cut a strip for my cuff. I did it off camera, I'm so sorry, but I did. It is 20.5 inches long. Man, I got threads everywhere. And it's 8 inches thick. Okay, so wide. We got 8 inches wide by 20.5 inches long. Okay, so we'll deal with that in just a second. Our very next step is to work with how we're going to hang this. So I've got this really cute ribbon. It's metallic silver. I don't know how well you'll be able to see this in the camera, but I want to make sure that, you know, it's going to look okay with the fabric choice that I made. And I will tell you, I'm not going to use it for my stripes. I could. It doesn't look bad, does it? But it has gold metallic and not silver. So instead of this one, I think the green matches really well. Again, it's hard for you to see in the camera, but I'm going to use this green ribbon. They are both 7/8 inches thick. I like that width a lot. And I'm cutting them about 10 inches, just so you know. So we're going to fold them in half. Okay. And you want to make sure which side is the heel, because that's the back of the boot, right? FYI, if you hear any dogs, I apologize. We're still working on our house from the electrical storm and getting ready to move to Kansas City. So we've got a lot of stuff going on. And as we get visitors, you're going to hear some things. Okay, so I'm going to fold this in half. All right. And that 10-inch strip folded in half. I'm actually going to take this to the sewing machine. And I keep having trouble here. Okay. I'm going to push all the fabric, basically an open seam. I'm going to tack. Now, for those of you who are new, all that means, I'm going to raise it up just a little bit above the lining, okay? Just so I know that I get it all. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and I do have the sewing machine on board with a camera, so you're going to watch all this part. But I'm just going to do a stitch, and I'm going to back stitch a couple of times, and it's going to tack it down, so it's going to stay. Now it's important that it goes down this way, because remember, we're still inside out, or right side inside, right? We haven't flipped anything. So I want to make sure that I tack this going down towards the heel and on the heel side. So I'm going to bring you in. We're going to do this part next. And actually, before I do, I'm going to go ahead and pin it just a bit. Now, I'm not a seamstress. I'm a quilter, right? Some of you may be seamstresses, and if you've got a better method for tacking, that would be wonderful. But I will tell you, you will hear on different ways to make stockings about a free arm. What that means is, if you have your sewing machine, mine is in my table and I don't want to bring it out. I don't want to lift it out of the table. It's kind of a rigmarole, right? So if you had it above table though, and you were able to pull out your extension table, or you know, the standard table that it comes with, if you can pull it away and you just have the center of your where your needle plate is in that width, you can actually use that just like that, and you can put the stocking around it and sew from the outside. I do have the ability, but I'm not willing to do it. So I'm going to do it as if I don't have a free arm. That's what that's called, is a free arm. So I'm actually going to stitch on the inside to tack it down, okay? And I'm going to go roughly a 1/4 inch. It's not necessary. You just don't want to go above, you don't want to hit a 1/2 inch. So somewhere in between a 1/4 and a 1/2, okay? So let's bring you over. All right, I'm going to get my thread out of the way and ready. Make sure that it stays down. Now you see the pins. I'm going to have to watch and remove the pins as we go. This is kind of like sewing a bowl cozy. This last part is kind of intense, just because of the space that you're contending with. Oh, I hope my dogs don't go driving you all crazy. Oh, my thread is absolutely insane. Make sure your thread is straight. Make sure you're not going to stitch your little hanging ribbon to itself. All right. If you could do this on the outside, so be it. I just want it all kind of the same. All right, so I'm going to do about 1/4 inch. I think everything is lined up now. I'm going to lower my needle. I can see that I'm on my ribbon, so I'm going to go ahead and pull the needle out. Now, it doesn't even matter if I'm straight or not. The whole idea is that we're tacking it down. So as soon as I get there, I'm going to back stitch. One more, I'm going to go again. I really want this to be secure, because if you put anything in your stocking, hopefully it's not coal, but you know, coal is really heavy. But if you put something in that stocking that has a little weight, it's going to pull on those threads. So I really want to get a nice thick stitch in it. And then I'll just simply cut and pull it away. We'll come back to the cutting board. All right. So now I have that ready to go. I'm going to just clip the extra thread on it. Then I'm going to we're going to work now with our cuff. Remember, I have 20.5 by 8 inches. And I'll tell you why I have 8 inches, because I think it's important. You don't have to do 8 inches. What 8 inches is going to give me? If we fold this in half, we have 4 inches. Not a bad looking cuff for 4 inches. But I'm going to sew a 1/2 inch seam, so I'm actually going to be left with 3.5. So it's going to look more something like this, okay, which I still think is really pretty. When you go to audition your fabric, you can also audition depending on the size of your stocking. If you got a small stocking, this might be too big, right? So you always want to be cognitive. I'm doing a 1/2 inch seam. We want to know that. If we fold it in half, whatever it is, so I have 8 inches divided by 2 is 4. So then I take a 1/2 inch. We're now at 3.5 inch. So if you want a 2 inch border, you just reverse the idea. So what we're going to do, this is one piece. We want it to look like this when we're done. So we're going to make a tube. So I'm going to fold this right sides together so that the wrong side is on the outside. Whoops, I just folded it the wrong way. We're going to do it halfway. Okay? So we make this great big tube. Right sides together. And then we are going to stitch a 1/4 inch along here while the wrong sides are facing out. So let's go ahead and do that. So now we have this tube, okay? One solid tube. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm just going to fold it in half. Let me go ahead and clip some of these threads so they're not in the way, and get into all of the stitching that we do, because when that happens, it's a nightmare trying sometimes to get them out. Now, if you really wanted to, you could go ahead and press this seam open, okay, before you started manipulating it. I'm just going to do a simple finger press. I'm not trying to get crazy. Remember, I'm trying to make this easy. All right. Now, what's really important when you do this, if you have directional fabric, you're going to need to pay attention. It's a lot easier if you just use something that doesn't have any, whether it's a solid or some kind of a print. But you'll want to make sure that you are good to go if you do have directional fabric, and you want to make sure that your raw edges are the same. And if you need to, once you get it where you want it, you can give it a little finger press. Okay. All right. Now we're going to put the raw edges with these raw edges. Okay. We are almost done, guys. This is exciting. All right. There we go. So we're going to slip it over our stocking. So we have not flipped our stocking yet. And you want to make sure that your seam is along this seam, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up all my raw edges, and I want to make sure that I separate my topper from my backing. I'm going to all line up all the raw edges of my backing and my cuff. I'm actually going to pin it a couple of times just so it stays. You do want to make sure that your hanger is still facing inside, okay? So then we're going to take this to the sewing machine. All right, like I did say, we are going to stitch, well, I am, a 1/2 inch seam around this cuff from the inside. All right. And I'm going to start along a seam because I'm going to do a little back stitching, and I think it'll just help secure it a bit. It's always fun to get started. Once you get going, it'll be all right. So making sure my thread is good, making sure my fabric is flat. I am going to check on my ribbon to make sure I'm not sewing it up. 1/2 inch seam, somewhere around there. I'm not worried about being too picky as long as I'm consistent. Now, just to keep things a little more secure, I am going to go ahead and back stitch. Okay. Cut threads. All right, let's pull this out and let's look at our beauty. Just to help things lay a little bit flat, this, I don't know if that's concave, convex, I can't remember which one's which. I'm guessing it's like a cave, but I could be completely wrong. But in this corner, if you want it, if you really have a deep one, like I'm not sure if I would need to do this, but you can do little slits. You just really do not want to hit those stitches, guys. So you can just do little slits. Make sure, I can't see on this both sides here. So I'm just gonna, yep, they're good. just do some little slits without going into the stitching. Some people like to take a little bit off of the 1/4 inch seam around here, or your seam, because if you're anything like me, it's a little more than a 1/4 inch, so I can just clean it up a bit. Okay, giving it less bulk if you so desire. You can also do triangles through here if you think that you felt like you needed it. Just the one I did? I did. Okay. It'll help things lay flatter. So you could actually, we're going to do this together. We're going to flip it around and see how we did. But if you're having any trouble in these areas, you can do those little stitching, you know, those little clips around that area. Just make sure you don't clip your seam. And you can also do triangles around the heels. What do I mean by that? Like literally, you can just simply cut out a little triangle. Okay. Making sure again that you don't hit any of your stitches on either side. So I don't feel like I'm going to need to do that, but feel free if that is something when you go to flip this back right sides. If you feel like you needed, if it's not laying flat enough or you're having trouble, you can always flip it back inside out and then do some snipping. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to come back at you face to face, and I'll also have the other stockings done. So we're going to flip this inside out and we'll be done, guys. That's it. See you in just a sec. Okay, all the sewing is done. The last of it. We get to turn it inside out, guys. All right. So when you're doing this, you just might want to, oh, I got a little string. I got strings everywhere. You should see my sewing studio. It's a mess. Okay. So when you turn it, you just want to push all those seams out. Make sure you fold down your cuff. I'll wait. I can't wait to show you the other ones too. All right. Now at this point, you could press it. It'll help it lay a little flatter. But I'm just gonna, I haven't pressed any of mine yet. I was so excited to show them to you. Okay. There we go. Oh, another string. Oh, the never-ending story of the threads. Quilting bling, right? All right, there you have it. There she is. Isn't she gorgeous? I absolutely love it. So super cute. So that's the one that I started with. And it was the bigger of the red, but that's the one I started with. Now, the other one that I cut the template with you, and I had to add a little more, and I should have had more to go with it. This is how it turned out. No two stockings will be the same with this method. So that turned out super cute. Okay, and both of them I did the silver ribbon. I just love these guys. They're so adorable. Now here is the strip or the stripes, and I went ahead, I had enough because this was a little smaller, about 2 inches smaller, and I went ahead and did a shorter cuff. So instead of cutting 8 inches, I cut 7, which then left me with about a 3-inch cuff, and I used the green ribbon. This one is so super cute. Now, interestingly enough, this was the long skinny one, but because of the way I cut it and sewed it, this is how it turned out. But I think it's absolutely adorable. Super cute. So 2 different stockings, 2 different methods, sort of, right? I wanted to be able to give you something that You didn't have to use a template. Now, if you do use you can use a template. So instead of tracing on your fabric, if you traced your stocking on paper, you can use that paper template over and over, especially if you use a cardstock. It'll help it last. And then you can do these in assembly line in the way that they'll all be mostly the same size, right? This way, every one of them is unique. However it is that you end up building them, they will all have a unique size and shape. Happiness is homemade, right? So I got ideas for next year. I can't wait to share them with you, but it's a different method for stockings, and I think you're gonna like it. So, but that is it, guys. That wraps up November's Christmas Wednesday. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I will be on Facebook Live at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as I'm here in Virginia. So I hope to see you there. It is our live quilting and answer session. So if you have any questions, feel free to join us there, and we'll be on live so we can talk about it. But that's a wrap, guys. It is an absolute wrap. I'll see you all at 3 p.m. if you come over to Facebook and join the live quilting or live Q&A, live quilting and answers. But until next time, which we talked about earlier, will not be here next week. I'm going to put family first and go see my mom and dad. So, but until next time, may you all continue to be inspired, productive, ever so joyful, never stop believing, and never stop making your dreams in quilting come true. Happy Thanksgiving, as that's tomorrow, and Merry Christmas. I'll see y'all in a couple weeks.